Opening. This is an audiobook recording of The Quarterback's Secret, Book 1, which is protected under international and domestic copyright laws. All rights to the text are reserved by the author, J.K. Jones. The narration is performed by Clyde Willis and Ralph Sharon. Unauthorized reproduction, distribution, or public performance of this recording, in part or in whole, is strictly prohibited. This audiobook is for your personal use only and may not be resold, transferred, or shared in any form without the express permission of the copyright holders. Thank you for respecting the hard work of the author, and we hope you enjoy this.
Chapter 11. Skylar James. The graffiti on the wall twisted and swirled like a magical painting. My jaw went slack as I sat on the couch at the club, feeling light as a feather. People around me blurred like they were moving too fast. I was falling through time, zooming through thousands of different places and worlds. Then, suddenly, I landed back in this one. Everything felt strange and new, like I was seeing it for the first time. The music thumped in my chest, and the lights sparkled as stars in the night. It was like I was in a dream, but it was real. The hit I'd taken earlier was still buzzing beneath my skin, raging and rabid like a hornet's nest in my ears. "Are you okay?" Travis pressed up against me, still dressed in the fishnet shirt he'd worn to Kelly's party 16 hours ago. Mo and Ace were in front of me, their bodies still swaying to the techno music. The rave was still going on, but my consciousness was somewhere else. "Yeah," I rasped, then cupped his face. "I need to get home." Travis spoke with a slight lisp. His face was covered in sweat, his black hair plastered to his forehead. "Sure, just give me a few minutes," I replied, dark spots dancing before my vision. Who was I kidding? I was way too high to go anywhere. I licked my dry lips, frowning, and then forced myself to sit up, my hands shaking. Mo flopped down beside me, shoving a bottle of water into my hands. I drank greedily, then stood. We walked out of the party just as the sun was cresting the horizon, casting a glow across the warehouse. Travis walked on shaky legs, and so did the rest of us. I checked in with my parole officer, and I knew the rest of them were doing the same. We finished our probation period, but I still had to check in every once in a while. Ace took out her key fob, and the lights to a sleek BMW lit up in the parking lot. She skipped towards it, grinning wide at us, and I wondered how this girl could have such boundless energy when she didn't drink. She dropped Travis off first, then Mo, and finally took me to the halfway house I'd be staying at, for the time being until Coach Sullivan could clear out his guest room. I sighed when I climbed up the steps, my frown deepening. The halfway house reeked of sweat and grime, the air thick with musty staleness. The walls were covered in peeling paint, and the floor creaked with every hesitant step. Crawling into the thin, lumpy mattress of my bunk, I could feel every spring poking through. The stained sheets clung to me, smelling faintly of bleach but unable to mask the years of neglect. From the other bunks, the noises of restless bodies shifting, muffled whispers, and occasional snores created a dissonant lullaby. I pulled the scratchy blanket over my head, trying to drown out the sounds and find some semblance of peace, only to have it torn away by the people screaming downstairs. Yup, I was living the dream, one nightmare at a time. I sighed, then flung off the sheets, gathering them up in my arms and heading out to the fire escape. The cool night air hit me as I stared off into the distance, lighting a cigarette. The glow of the city lights were misty through the haze of smoke. I took a deep drag, the nicotine calming my nerves. The chaos below faded, replaced by the distant hum of the city. I absently touched my arm, feeling the ridged bumps of torn skin beneath my tattoos. Edgewater had been a step up from the shelter where Coach Sullivan had found me from, but it didn't matter. I was safe, or at least safer from my foster father. I winced when I touched my ribs, still feeling the phantom pain of the wrench he used to bring down on me whenever he felt the urge. "Goddamn prick," I whispered. It was a miracle I survived there. I should have left when the social workers offered me the chance, but leaving meant saying goodbye to Hunter, and I wasn't ready to do that. I snorted. Hunter, what a joke. He turned his back on me the second Lavinia batted her eyelashes at him. He returned from football camp suddenly too cool to play video games or hang out with me. God, I was so pathetic back then. Drooling over him like some damn puppy. Hunter had been my first everything, my first friend, my first love, and a part of me just wanted to keep that special. I was so freaking pissed when he started hanging out with those damn jocks, ignoring me, pretending like I didn't exist. If he knew what I'd given up for him. I gritted my teeth, anger swelling inside me like a tidal wave. Oh well, none of it matters anymore anyway. Coach Sullivan had promised me a scholarship and a chance to play a national state team. It was the best offer I could get to escape Edgewater, so I'd taken it. My phone buzzed with an incoming message, and I quickly checked it. "Hey, my couch is still open if you want it." The text message read. My mouth curved into a smile. God, I was tempted. "I'll pass, but thanks." I texted her back, then turned off my phone. Mo or Monique Jones had been my anchor all throughout my time at Edgewater. She was my soulmate, my twin flame, and if I wasn't so freaking gay, she probably would have been my wife by now. I blew smoke into the sky, thinking back on the past. I never thought I'd ever get a chance to attend WEU. That was a dream I had long since beaten dead. There were so many things that changed back when Hunter and I first made plans to go here. When Hunter started changing, I was desperate to keep up. I became a sports enthusiast, trying to impress him with my knowledge of football that I spent hours researching the night before, just to see his face light up. It was stupid, I know, but back then I'd convinced myself that I was in love. Not that it mattered anyway. Hunter kept slipping through my fingertips. He wanted to spend time at the gym and work out. He wanted to be a man's man, but back then I knew I could never be those things for him. I never told Hunter the reasons why it was so hard for me to work out back then. It was mostly because my asshole foster father would always call me a pansy. He got pissed when I refused to work out or go to the gym. Every time Hunter mentioned it, the memories of him hitting me with 20-pound dumbbells flashed through my head, triggering me. Whatever. I didn't get triggered like that anymore. I took out my switchblade. It snapped open with a loud click. I kept opening and closing it, the rhythm of the clicks making me feel more relaxed. The sun crested the horizon, and I curled up in a ball, still drunk and high from earlier. I thought about the sun and how it looked so close and so far away, untouchable and unfathomable, just like the stars. I woke with a start, jerking hard when cool hands touched my arm. My heart pounded, and I tore my knife out of my pocket, flicking it open with a sharp snap. "Sorry," a voice said, calm but a bit shaken. "I called your name like 100 times." I squinted, trying to make out the figure in the sunlight. Winston was hovering near the open window, his face pulled into a frown. He wore a plaid button-up and thick-rimmed glasses. He was one of the social workers who worked at the halfway houses. I rubbed my eyes and groaned. What time is it? Coach Sullivan is here to pick you up. I nodded, then quickly gathered the blankets and bundled them in a heap. Winston helped me stuff my things in a garbage bag, and I met Coach Sullivan at the front door. He wore his signature orange hat, along with his matching windbreaker with the football team's logo on the back. "You got your stuff?" he said, his voice gruff. I nodded. He turned to sign whatever paperwork he needed with Winston and told me my probation officer would be in touch, which was fine. Coach Sullivan put my stuff in the back of his beige Honda Odyssey, and we drove back to his house in silence. K-Dog and Tyrone were living with family nearby, but I was the only one who didn't have anyone to stay with, besides the local shelter. So as part of our agreement to play Coach Sullivan, offered his spare room. He ordered me to get a job as soon as I got settled, so I could keep myself out of trouble and my head into the game. A part of me wanted to roll my eyes at that, but he wasn't a bad guy. He was a surly bastard, but he wasn't bad per se. We reached Coach Sullivan's house, an older home in a quiet suburban area. The yellow paint was slightly faded, giving the house a charming lived-in look. A large front porch wrapped around the front, complete with a few rocking chairs and a small table. Inside, the walls were covered in wood paneling straight out of the 70s, with a few scratches and nicks that showed its age. The furniture was similarly dated, plush, mustard yellow sofas with floral patterns and a coffee table with scuffed legs. I half expected to see a lava lamp and some shag carpet. Despite the old-fashioned decor, the place felt cozy and well-loved. Family photos and mementos filled the shelves, adding to the homely atmosphere. Coach Sullivan led me down a narrow hallway to the spare room. The room was small but neat, with a quilted bedspread and a dresser that looked like it had been there for decades. "So here are the rules. Listen up. I don't want to have to repeat myself. No drinks, no smoking, no fun whatsoever, unless I've allowed it. Got it, kid?" Coach barked at me. "Got it. So basically it's a party every night," I replied dryly, setting my bag down. "That's right, wise ass. Dinner is at 7 p.m. sharp. If you aren't going to be home, let me know so I can dump your plate in the compost." I snorted a laugh, rolling my eyes. Coach shot me a look, and I gave a small, mock salute. "Now get some sleep. You look like you've been run over by a dumpster. You can catch the bus on your way to school that way so nobody has to know you live here." Coach Sullivan walked around me, then stopped. "Oh, and Skylar." He paused. "Good to have you back." The words sent warmth spreading through my chest, and I nodded. "Thank you, Coach." He lifted his hand to touch my shoulder, but stopped himself at the last second. Only a few people knew I hated to be touched, and I was glad the coach respected that. I dumped my stuff onto the bed, and then fell face first into the covers, instantly falling asleep. I don't know how long I slept, but when I woke, it was sometime in the night. The strong smell of fried steak and baked potatoes filled my nostrils, and I staggered my way out of the bedroom. Coach Sullivan was just setting the table, so I went over to wordlessly help him. He poured himself some beer, then me a soda. I wasn't going to complain. I was too hungover from the night before anyway. He closed his eyes and clasped his hands together in prayer. "Bless this dish, bless this spread. May it fill us up and keep us fed." I laughed, and Coach Sullivan cut his eyes at me. "Eat up before it gets cold," he muttered. The steak was perfectly grilled, juicy and tender, with a rich, charred crust. The potatoes were creamy, seasoned to perfection, and accompanied by a heap of buttery corn and crisp green beans. As I took a bite, the warm, savory flavors spread through me, making my chest feel all syrupy and content. It was the best meal I'd had in years. "It's good. Thank you." Coach Sullivan nodded, his head bowed. "Well, make sure you're home so my fine cooking doesn't go to waste." And there goes my appetite. Coach Sullivan snorted a laugh. "Yeah, so what's your plans, kid? The next game's coming up and I could cut the tension between you and Hunter with a butter knife." I shrugged. "He's an asshole." "Yeah, what else is new?" Coach Sullivan grumbled. "How a leader acts is how their team will react. You two at each other's throats isn't good for anyone." "Tell him to get his head out of his ass and play better," I muttered. Coach Sullivan eyed me. "You've seen that too?" I shrugged again, not wanting to get into it. Hunter was a damn good QB, but recently he's been distracted, and it was screwing up the team. His throws were off. His entire demeanor screamed like he was unsure of himself. We couldn't play like that, especially if the damn captain didn't know which way was up or down. "I'll talk to him," Coach Sullivan continued. "Maybe there's something going on with him at home. He doesn't normally play this badly." "You better talk to him because I'm coming for his spot," I warned, ignoring the scathing look Coach Sullivan was giving me. We finished off the dinner, and I did the dishes, wiped the table, and put the remaining food away for lunch for tomorrow. It was a routine we were used to. It started after he began visiting me regularly at Edgewater Reform School. Coach went to bed early, and I went onto the balcony and smoked, taking solace in the night sky. I'll never forget the day he saw K-Dog, Tyrone, and me playing a simple game. It wasn't like we were trying to get noticed. We were just some kids with a love for football looking for a way out. Coach said he happened to be driving by when he saw us play. Then a few weeks later, we were approached by a recruiter saying that WEU was looking to partner with Edgewater Reform School to give back to the community or some crap. I didn't freaking care. All I knew was that we were getting out. The summer before we came here, he ran us hard. We practiced day and night until Coach Sullivan deemed us good enough to join his team, the Granite Peak Gladiators, the national state champion university team of Texas. And I was Hunter's alternate. I briefly wondered how much having me around unnerved him. Did he think about the past? Or what he'd done to me? The acritic stench of smoke filled my nostrils, along with images of Lavinia pressing the glowing red log to my sternum. She'd been rabid, almost frothing at the mouth each time it dug in. The searing rank of burning flesh, or my screams that pierced the air, didn't seem to bother her. None of them batted an eye. "You're nothing," Mason had hissed against my cheek. Vivid, nightmarish snapshots of torment raced before my eyes, strobing in relentless, blinding bursts. Panic seized me as my heart hammered and the sound of glass shattering filled the air, the pieces seeming to dance dangerously close to my face. I gritted my teeth, my hands curling into a fist. Soon, a chuckle broke out of me. I snapped my switchblade open, flicking it almost manically. Flashes of excruciating memories flickered before my eyes, each burst of light bringing a fresh wave of pain. My heartbeat thudded violently, and I could almost feel the cold, sharp sting of the wrench as it splintered my bones. I laughed again, then dug the tip of the blade into my index finger. The wound bloomed like a flower against my skin, and I sighed long and deep, at last, feeling grounded. It was nothing more than a pinprick, but I relished the spark of pain. Inhaling deeply, I took another drag of my cigarette. My phone buzzed into my pocket insistently, and I checked the caller ID to see who it was. Crap. Yeah? Where are you? Razor demanded, his voice cutting. I'm at a friend's. Why? Where's the money from the previous night, you know, with what's-his-face? Razor snapped his fingers. Jackson. Did he stiff you like before? Nah, man. I gave it to Travis. He'll give it to you, I replied easily. Razor muttered something intangible and shook his head. Travis? That Weasley little ass muncher, Razor sneered. Whatever. You have a client in a few days, don't be late. I stilled. I can't. I have school and... Did I ask for your excuses, Skylar? No, I didn't. You go to some fancy school now and think you're better than me? Don't forget where I found you. Starving and sucking off anyone for a scrap of food. I made you, Razor sneered. So don't talk back unless you want to remember exactly who you owe. The line went dead. I snorted, rolling my eyes. Good old Razor. The bastard never did know how to be subtle. He wasn't wrong, though. Now that my probation was over, I'd need money to pay Coach Sullivan back, and I wasn't too keen at working at McDonald's just to get it. No, I needed hard cash. If I ever made it to the NFL, that would be cool, but I also knew it was highly unlikely. They didn't normally hire white trash like me to work there. Well, maybe not switch, but Skylar James would certainly have a shot. Or he'd take it, by force. Rage fizzled inside my chest, and my lips curved into a smile. Soon. Very soon. Hunter would know what it means to cry. To beg. I flicked my cigarette away, and then went back into the house. I was living the dream, one nightmare at a time. Chapter 12. Skylar James. I stared up at the yellow cracked ceiling, a smile forcefully curling my lips. The heavy stench of mold filled my nostrils, and the sheets itched against my skin. Tank grunted on top of me, his body odor enough to make me gag. Yet, I felt light and weightless, like nothing could bring me down. The room was old and worn, but for some reason, it didn't matter. My smile grew wider as I breathed in the musty air, letting the strange comfort wash over me. Everything felt distant and unimportant. For the first time in a long while, I felt free. I lifted my hand into the air and traced the fine cracked seams of the wallpaper, imagining I were in a field of wheatgrass. Skylar. I reached out, feeling the soft strands of wheatgrass between my fingertips. Skylar. The sensation was soothing, each blade slipping through my fingers like silk. The weightless feeling grew stronger, grounding me in this simple, pure moment. The wheatgrass swayed gently, matching the rhythm of my steady, calm breaths. Jesus Christ, Skylar? Travis's voice snapped me back to the present. He scowled at me, his hands on his hips, and a laugh burst out of me. Damn it, he sneered, then grabbed my chin. What the hell did you take? Me? Nothing. I grinned, my cheeks twitching. Shut up and take a shower. You stink. I told you not to take more than one at a time when I'm not around, Travis admonished. Was Was there more than one? I had lost track. First, there was Tank, and then I drew a blank, not sure what happened after that. Whatever. At least I wasn't robbed. I turned to Travis, who was counting the money, his black painted nails shining in the light. He wore an off-the-shoulder black belly top, exposing his midriff, and there was glitter around his eyes. That should be enough for Razor, Travis muttered, pocketing the rest. Chop chop. Mo wants us to meet her at Ace's house, and I don't know about you, but I like having my balls intact. I chuckled and noticed my throat felt raw like sandpaper. Rolling off the bed, I sighed when my thighs felt wet and caked with bodily juices. Travis turned on the shower and tossed me some clothes to throw on. I stepped into the dingy motel shower, the yellow walls grimy and streaked with mildew. The rising sun peeked through the small window, casting a weak golden light over the filth. I stood there for a long time, my head bent, allowing the lukewarm water to run down my back. The water felt more like a trickle, barely washing away the dirt and sweat. The steam mixed with the musty smell of the room, but I didn't care. I just needed this moment, letting the water cleanse more than just my skin. Travis opened the door and sat on the toilet lid. Hey, are you okay? My mouth twitched. Never better. You've just never been this reckless before. Travis tucked a stray black hair behind his ears. Wow, your insight is truly mind-blowing. Please, tell me more. I'm serious, Skylar, Travis replied. So am I replied. Then I grabbed the soap and lathered up my body. I'm fine. Dandy. The world's a ball of butter. Now can I shower in peace? Unless... My mouth curved. You wanted to join me. Oh, you're vile, Travis scoffed, then walked out of the bathroom. That wasn't a no, I called back to him. I hurried through the rest of my shower and dressed in the clothes Travis brought me. A simple graphic white t-shirt and baggy jeans. I took my time putting in my nose ring and fixing my piercings. Coach didn't like us wearing them, but practice was still a few days away, so I figured I could keep them in for now. We got into his Honda Accord and drove to Ace's house in silence. Travis wasn't one for mindless small talk, and neither was I. We were both content to watch the scenery, listening to the low hum of the engine as it took us to our destination. When we arrived, Mo was standing outside, a cigarette wedged between her lips as she spoke lowly on the phone. I got out quickly and took her into my arms, giving her a ugh. Mo rolled her eyes and snorted. You look dopey. What did you take? Me? I feigned innocence. Nothing. Liar, Mo said, but she eyed me. What did he take, Travis? I don't know. I'm not his babysitter. Travis scoffed, then walked inside. Mo looked pissed, and I tried to give her my award-winning grin, but she just ignored it and went inside after Travis. Ace's house was a sprawling Victorian apartment building with ornate woodwork and large windows. I walked in, passing the grand staircase and old creaky wooden floors. The walls were lined with faded wallpaper and antique light fixtures. I headed straight to the basement, the air growing cooler as I descended. The basement was a cozy hangout spot with worn-out sofas and dim lighting. Ace, K-Dog, Ty, and Edge were lounging around, chatting and laughing when we walked in. Oh, look who it is, K-Dog drawled. Finally tired of hanging out on your back? How good of you to join us, Skylar. I flipped him off and flung myself on the leather couch. Tell your mother I'll need my shirt back. Screw you, K-Dog muttered, but there was no heat to it. I thought you said you stopped doing that crap. I shrugged, but K-Dog frowned and then turned to Travis, who shrugged too. Don't ask me, he does whatever he wants. It's his body. Just leave him alone, Edge said. We've got bigger things to worry about. Yeah, like your receding hairline. K-Dog snickered. Shut up, Edge muttered. At least I don't need a search party to find my abs. Oh, nice one. Did you learn that in a fortune cookie? K-Dog retorted. Nope, from your mom. She said you might need some tips on being cool. She also told me you're banned from the alleyways, because the stray dogs thought you were one of them. K-Dog snickered. Better than getting banned from the library for eating the books. Hey, those books were tastier than your cooking, K-Dog said. All right, enough, you two. Focus. Mo finally stepped in, rolling her eyes. I snorted a laugh, tilting my head back and staring up at the ceiling. You guys are a riot act, I muttered, then turned to look at Ace. I was serious earlier, Ace replied softly. You said you'd stop. Ugh, I laughed, but irritation sparked within me. The sooner I shoot you, the sooner I'll get out of jail for it. Don't assume that's not a major incentive. Whatever, Ace muttered. Since she was our resident hacker, I didn't want to piss her off too much, in case she decided my browsing history needed a public audience. Everybody shut up, Mo snapped, then walked over to a large wall and stood in front of it. The wall was covered with a detailed crime scene investigation. Red lines connecting all the people we were planning to take down. Her face twisted into a scowl as she stared at the top. There, prominently displayed, was a picture of Jack Reed. Jack the Rat, K-Dog sang. I stared at his picture, a fresh swell of rage rising in me. I stood, then took out my switchblade, gazing intently at his photo. Below him were his connections to the rabid dogs that had destroyed his life, not to mention everyone around him with their lies. My lips crooked as I gazed at them all, hatred growing in my heart, wide and thick, like the root of a tree. First, there was Judge Martha Lawson, who always gave Jack Reed breaks in court. Second, Special Prosecutor Tony Wallace was known for being tough, but never on Jack. Criminal defense lawyer Greg Stevens was Jack's favorite for dodging trouble. Third, Sheriff Rick Wilson, Jordy's dad. The bastard always looked the other way when Jack did wrong, and never gave a damn whenever he called the police after his foster father had beaten him with a wrench. I itched to drive my blade straight into his skull. Fourth, my personal favorite, Linda Jones, EJAS mom, whose false accusations had landed me in juvie. Fifth, we had Rebecca Coleman, Lavinia's mom, who helped cover up their attack on me. All of them were tangled up with Jack Reed, and the red lines made it clear just how deep it all went. And finally, Kane Davis, Hunter's bastard of a father, who sided with all the rest and didn't dare speak up for me. He took the money he got for the settlement. My jaw twitched. A searing rage curled in my gut, like a tight coil of burning steel, twisting and tightening with every passing moment. Hey. Mo's hand enclosed around mine, and I didn't realize it was shaking. Come back to us. I took a slow, stuttering breath and sighed, turning to face them. I'm close now. I just need a few more weeks, and then I'll have access to all the information we need. Skylar, Travis said, fiddling with his sleeve. My mom. Don't worry. I'll make sure she's safe, I promise. Once I gain their trust, there's no turning back. I've found all the evidence we need, and we can proceed from there. Has Special Agent Millark contacted you yet? Ace asked, her arms crossed. No, but he will soon once I have something concrete, I replied. These people have ruined our lives. Now it's time they pay for it. You all have your assignments. Report back if anything goes sour. Dismissed. K-Dog shrugged and walked out, with Tyrone following close behind. Edge stayed and spoke quietly to Travis and Ace. I turned back to look at the photos. The rage in my gut felt like a tangled ball of barbed wire. Smoke? Mo asked, then grabbed my wrist, gently pulling me away. We sat outside on Ace's steps. Mo wedged herself between my legs, resting her head on my chest while we shared a smoke. I trailed a hand over her bronze cheek, at last feeling a sense of peace washing over me. Your energy is off, Mo murmured. I watched the bustling street. People walked by, chatting and laughing, completely absorbed in their own lives. They strolled without a care, oblivious to the deep corruption lurking behind their cheerful faces. Their carefree attitude felt surreal against the truth we knew. Mo's hands trailed over the large ridged marks on my arms. My tattoos covered most of it, but the skin had been damaged beyond repair. She took a drag, her heart-shaped lips wrapping around the cigarette, and just the sight made my skin sizzle. If I weren't so gay, I'd probably be halfway to building a rocket and blasting off to Mars by now. Wow, I'm in awe. You should really consider a career in stating the obvious. I'm serious, asshole. So am I replied, my mouth twitching. Can't you be serious for once? Mo huffed. Nah, that's too much work, I replied. Evading was my specialty. It's him, isn't it? Hunter? I froze when she said his name, and then forced myself to relax. Hear that? It's the sound of you not talking for once. Skylar. Still talking? I'm not even close to being finished. She spat at me. Why are you working with Razor again? It's not like you have to, especially with all the money they gave you. You're out of your freaking mind if you think I'd touch a dime of that. I laughed. It was harsh and bitter. I'd rather sleep on the streets than take a penny. Is that where you've been? Mo asked, twisting in my arms. Why didn't you come stay with me? Coach Sullivan offered me a place, so I took it, I responded, staring back at her. I can't continue to take advantage of your hospitality. My dad doesn't mind. He thinks we're screwing. Trust me, he minds, I scoffed, then plucked the cigarette from her. I'm fine, like I said. Coach has a spare room, and he's a pretty decent cook, which surprised me, honestly. Okay, Mo relented. But if you need anything, I'll come straight to you. Thanks, Mother. You wish I was your mother, Mo scoffed, then went back to smoking. This is going to be the fight of our lives. I know. We'd need each other now more than ever before. I would never admit to how triggering it was to see all of them again, and how it set my teeth on edge. Mason hasn't really spoken to me, but I could feel his eyes slice apart my skin. Along with EJ and the others, They were planning something, but there was no way I'd know what. No, I had to use someone else for that, and I knew just the person to talk to. "Stay with us, Skylar," Mo muttered, threading her fingers through mine. I kissed her cheek and sank deeper into her everlasting warmth. I stood on the sidelines, fuming as Hunter messed up another simple play. He fumbled the ball, and before he could recover, he was tackled hard by the line, crushed and losing us the game. Coach Sullivan and I exchanged a look, and I rolled my eyes, digging my cleats into the grass. "Hunter, you're out," Coach shouted. "Skylar, get your ass on the field." My heart raced as I shoved on my helmet and sprinted onto the field. I turned things around at the end of the game with a burst of energy. I dodged tackles, made great passes, and scored the winning touchdown, saving the practice game for us. Everyone cheered as I jogged back to the sidelines, feeling pumped. After a quick shower, I changed into a graphic white t-shirt and waited by the locker room doors with my arms crossed. When Hunter walked out, his wet hair fell in curls around his hazel eyes. I ignored the heat crawling up my neck when our gazes locked. Hunter stopped in front of me, chewing on his lower lip. Mason and the others eyed us, but didn't say a word and walked out. I waited until everyone was gone, dragging my eyes up and down his body. I stayed with my foster family for him, just so that I wouldn't be forced to move elsewhere and we'd be separated. But Hunter would never know that. I stepped forward, noticing that we weren't exactly the same height. He still had a few inches on me, but we were pretty close. I gently used my index finger and turned his head to the left, exposing the nick from my knife on his neck. The line was a long stripe, tender and slightly red. "Does it hurt?" Hunter looked startled, and he nodded. "Good." I took my hand away, still staring at him. "You said you wanted to talk, so talk." "Right now?" Hunter asked incredulously. "Unless you have somewhere better to be." I reached into my pocket for a smoke. No, let's talk, please." My gaze drifted to Hunter's lips, tracing the delicate curve of his Cupid's bow, lingering on the fullness that begged to be kissed. I jerked my head to the stadium, and he followed me. We didn't speak as we walked, but I felt my skin tingle from how close he was to me. Christ, get a grip. I clenched and unclenched my fist, trying to get a handle on my emotions. I spun to face him when we reached the metal bleachers, and Hunter startled. "Talk," I growled at him. He took a deep breath. "Look, I'm sorry. You already said that. I'm starting to think those are the only two words you know." "They are, if you'll listen to them." Listening and forgiving are two different things. I'd expect someone like you to know better. I smirked, bringing the cigarette to my lips and lighting it. "I mean it. I'm sorry," Hunter said. "I owe you more than I could ever repay." "Thanks for that earth-shattering revelation. My life is forever changed," I said dryly. Hunter bit his lip and looked away from me. "Fine. You're right. It's stupid and half-assed. What I wanted to say was that I'm sorry about everything that happened in the past, and I wanted you to know that I should have listened to you in the first place. You were right about them, about Mason and the others." My breath caught, but I smoothed out my expression. "So, sniffing Mason's ass didn't get you to where you wanted to be?" "It's more than that," Hunter replied. He swallowed, and I ignored how his Adam's apple bobbed. I think. No, I know. They're hiding something. Hold on. Let me write that down. I wouldn't want to forget such wisdom. Hunter huffed a noise in frustration. Skylar, he rasped, and I hated how desperate his voice sounded with my name on his lips. I know they had something to do with you being sent to Edgewater, and I want to help you take them down. The words knocked the wind out of me. I stared up at him, speechless. Hunter stared at me right back, his hazel eyes shining with determination. He knew about my plan, and he wanted to help. I should tell him no. I should tell him to take that idea and shove it up his ass, but I can't. My throat constricted, and something painful tightened in my chest. Years ago, I would have given anything to hear those words from him. Now he was saying them, and I could tell by the deep crease in his brows that he meant them. Chapter 13. Skylar James. I snorted, tilting my head to stare at him. You don't know anything. Hurt flashed across Hunter's face, but he smoothed out his expression. I know they want to keep you quiet, and I don't know why just yet, but I know it had something to do with you being sent to Edgewater. I can help you, just... Hunter took a deep breath. Will you let me? Let him? I sneered at the words. The last time I let him, I was screwed over, and not only that, I was left for dead. 16 stitches, a fractured skull, and a broken ribcage. That's what happened when I let Hunter help me. Uneasiness roiled in my stomach, and I gauged the earnest look on his face. Fine. My lips crooked into a smile. Okay, you can help. It's what I was going to use him for anyway. I was just surprised he came so willingly. Hunter breathed a sigh of relief. What do you want me to do? Eager much? I scoffed, then leaned back against the railing. Nothing for now. Just lay low until I decide what my next move is. Hunter nodded, then licked his dry lips. His eyes roamed over my body, and I felt my face warm. What? I snapped at him. Nothing. Hunter flushed, then chuckled. You just look so different. I remember you were so skinny we used to call you Scarecrow. I gritted my teeth. Yeah? Maybe I was so freaking skinny because my foster father never fed me. All the blood drained from Hunter's face. Crap. Skylar, I'm sorry. It's amazing how some people can open their mouths and remove all doubt about their intelligence. I took another drag of my cigarette, my annoyance flaring hotly in my chest. Nobody knew more than Hunter how much of a bastard my foster father really was, and that nickname had cut me to the core when I was young. I had tried to get bigger. I had tried to lift weights whenever he pushed them on me, just so that I could keep up with Hunter and his goons, but I had been so malnourished. That day, my foster father beat me with a wrench. My rib cage jutted out beneath my skin like the ridges of a washboard. I'm sorry. If you say those words again, I'll punch you, I replied. my face blank. I was sick of hearing those words because I knew they didn't mean anything, especially coming from him. Hunter wasn't sorry. Maybe he was sorry he got caught, but he wasn't truly sorry. Hunter clamped his mouth shut, and we lapsed into silence. My eyes traveled to Hunter's lips, where the subtle arch of his Cupid's bow met the plush softness that sent my heart racing. Jesus, get a grip, I chastised myself. As much as I hated to admit it, I was still insanely attracted to him. My phone buzzed in my pocket, and I knew it was Mo, so I quickly answered it. We spoke briefly, and when it was done, I hung up and slipped my phone away. As fun as this has been, I need to get back. Come over, Hunter blurted out. I froze, my heart suddenly hammering. Hunter stepped toward me, not touching me, but close enough. Sandy brown tendrils of hair were escaping his ponytail, and I noticed he was trembling. Skylar, I want to make things right. Please, just come over. I want to talk. Not to say those words again, but really talk. It's been 2 years. Please. I swallowed around the blockage in my throat, feeling all kinds of uncomfortable. I forgot how persuasive Hunter could be. I forced a smile and lazily looked up at him. Sure. Let's go. I walked past him, still remembering the way to his apartment. We walked to the bus stop in silence, and I quickly stubbed out my cigarette when the bus arrived. Hunter kept a reasonable distance away from me, and I busied myself with looking out the window, watching the scenery go by. We reached Hunter's apartment in under 20 minutes, but by the time we arrived, my stomach was in knots. This place held so many happy memories, but everything soured when I saw Hunter's father, Cain Davis. He looked old. His hair was almost white with sandy brown bits, just like Hunter's, but he was a lot thinner. He wore a plaid shirt and cowboy boots, looking every bit the Texan I knew he was. The apartment was small and old, with a bit of grime here and there, but it felt homey. The worn-out couch, mismatched chairs, and faded rug made it feel cozy, like a place where you could relax and be yourself. Hey, Cain said. He got up from the rickety armchair when Hunter and I walked through the front door. Who's your friend? Hunter offered a shy smile. You don't recognize him? It's Skylar. I clenched my jaw and forced myself to smile. Hello, Mr. Davis. Shock skittered across Cain's face, and he lurched forward to wrap me in his arms, but I quickly sidestepped. I don't like to be touched, I said, still smiling. But rage was simmering below the surface. Right, sorry. Cain dropped his arms, but his eyes were wide. It's good to see you, son. He almost reached out to clasp my shoulder like he used to, but I took another step back, the fake smile still plastered to my face. Good to see you too, I replied, even though I could tell my voice felt empty. Seeing him was the last thing I ever freaking wanted to do, but I had more important things to worry about. Unfortunately, Cain happened to be one of the keys I needed to unlock the door to victory. Got any grub? Mac and cheese? Hunter asked excitedly. I rolled my eyes at him. What are you? 5? Something like that. Come on. It used to be your favorite. When I was 10, I muttered, but I followed him into the kitchen anyway, dropping my bag on the floor near the usual spot. Cain followed us, uncertainty in his eyes. I knew he wanted to talk to me and ask me 1,000,001 questions, but he was holding back for Hunter's sake. Beer? Kane asked, and I nodded. He went to the fridge and grabbed 3 cans, tossing one to me and another to Hunter, who got started on cooking. So, how's school? Good. I'm at WEU now, freshman year. I've joined the football team, but I'm sure Hunter told you about that. Oh, that's wonderful, Kane said stiffly. I'll be anxious to see you play. Back in the day, you weren't much of a player, but I see that's changed. You look amazing, Skylar. You've really filled out. You're big enough to take Hunter on now, I see. Yep, big enough to kick his ass. I snorted, then crossed my arms over my chest. Well, football certainly wouldn't have been my first choice, but it's really the sport people can play in this one-horse town. Hunter barked a laugh, just as the water started boiling. No kidding, it's either that or wrestling, but there aren't many team sports here in general. Ah, team sports. Nothing says fun like being forced to play a game with people you'd avoid in the lunch line, I said, rolling my eyes. Hunter laughed again, and so did Kane. So, what about you? Are you still at the lumber mill? Kane launched into a story about his work and hours. It was nothing new since he'd been there for the last 25 years. I listened, though, sipping my beer and purposefully kept my expression blank. When the food was ready, I texted Coach Sullivan to tell him I wouldn't be home tonight for dinner, and he was more than welcome to dump my food into the compost bin, to which he replied, gladly, and that was the end of that. Hunter shared our bowls around the table, and we ate catching up. So, what made you want to be quarterback? I asked. The noodles were kind of rubbery, and the cheese tasted like plastic, but to me, it felt like home. Strange emotions were swirling in my chest, but I tried to ignore them. I stamped them down and focused on what was being said. I don't know, Hunter replied, with a light flush. Coach Sullivan recruited me one day and said I was at QB and I just took it. You know how prickly he can be. I'm kind of scared of him, to be honest, Hunter admitted. I'm sure he's a reincarnation of a porcupine, I deadpanned. Hunter chuckled, and Kane did as well. Man, I missed your sense of humor. God, it's been so long. Not long enough. My mouth twitched, but I kept my smile on my face. Yeah, I finished my food. Then my phone buzzed again. I picked it up and excused myself from the table. Hey, where are you? Mo breathed, and I instantly relaxed. At a friend's. Why? Travis went to see Razor. It didn't go well. Can you talk to him? Crap. Why the hell would Travis go see him alone? Sure. I'll text you when I get there. I hung up and then went back to the table. I have to go. Hunter and Kane got up from the table immediately. Really? So soon? Hunter asked. Mo needs me. I didn't elaborate. I just grabbed my bag and swung it over my shoulder. They walked me to the door and I waved goodbye to Kane, who looked like he desperately wanted to hug me. See you around. Yeah. See ya. Kane forced a smile. I'll walk you to the bus, Hunter said. He hurried to put his shoes on, and together, we walked out of the apartment building. The cool breeze felt nice on my skin, and I didn't realize my hands were clammy with sweat until I wiped them on my baggy jeans. Will you come over again? I frowned. Why? Why not? I mean, Hunter ran a hand through his long hair. We didn't really hang out. This doesn't count because you didn't sleep over. So now it's a sleepover? I scoffed. What next? You want to braid each other's hair and tell each other all our secrets? First off, you don't have any hair. And yes, we could do that if you wanted to. Well, I don't want to, I replied. One time was enough. Oh, I see. Another hurt look crossed his face, and it took everything in me not to punch him. Of course, Hunter would be hurt. He was always freaking hurt. But he never cared how much it hurt me, or how much I was suffering just by being here with him, in his freaking house, and around his father, one of the people responsible for sending me to Edgewater in the beginning. My hand curled into a fist, but my lips twitched into a smirk. I looked around for a moment, then leaned against the metal bus pole, gazing at him intently. Hunter flushed beneath my gaze, but he held it stubbornly, not looking away. I cocked my head, regarding him. You were watching us, at the party. Pink crawled over his neck and cheeks. Hunter cleared his throat. I thought... He swallowed hard. I thought you were in trouble. That's why I followed you. Trouble? I snorted. In trouble of what? Creaming my pants? No, Hunter looked flustered. I didn't know who that guy was, and I wasn't thinking. Sorry. So what happened? Lavinia isn't doing it for you anymore? I spat her name bitterly, and I stamped down the rage curling in my gut. Lavinia. The rabid harlot had tried to murder me, and Hunter even dated her after that. No matter. She'd pay for it. They both would. Soon. Hunter's face paled. I was going to explain that to you, but I never got the chance. You have to understand. Nothing happened between us. I don't even know why I dated her, to begin with. I'm so stupid to even do that. After what they did to you, Skylar, I told you, I said, my voice blank. Say those words again, and I'll punch you. Hunter nodded. What I meant was, it was an accident. Mason and the others pressured me into... Screwing the head cheerleader? I doubt that, but interesting concept. Keep going. Skylar, Hunter wheezed out, his shoulders drooping. You don't have to forgive me. I just want to explain it to you. Can you promise to listen? Well, it wasn't like I had much of a choice. The bus would come in 20 minutes, and I knew Hunter wasn't going anywhere until then. Fine. Talk. Thank you. Hunter took a deep breath. After everything happened, I wanted nothing to do with them. With her. He gritted his teeth. I hated them, but I couldn't remember anything. Ah, the classic head injury. How could he forget how convenient it was for Hunter to claim he knew nothing, that he didn't see anything, when he was right freaking there when they began torturing me. The stench of burnt flesh, wood, and ash made my stomach churn. Laughter echoed in my head, bringing back memories of the fire. I would have been burnt alive had things gone their way. So, your solution to that was screwing her? I laughed then, with bile surging up my throat. It was cruel and manic, but it hid my fury. I was breathless with rage, my fists clenched so tight, my knuckles turned white. It took all my willpower not to scream at Hunter right then and there. If stupidity was a sport, you'd be an Olympic gold medalist. Nothing happened, I swear. I couldn't even look at her, Hunter replied. You were gone, and I couldn't remember. Regardless of whether I was gone or not, I replied, the edge creeping into my tone. You remembered some of it. You remembered the punch, Lavinia and EJ binding me. You remember that, don't you? Yes, but... Well, that should have been enough, I burst out. A blistering red haze filled my vision, and I itched for my blade. You're right, Hunter agreed. I was a coward. Was? I almost said, but bit the words back. His words were screwing with me. I never wanted to know his side of things, because I assumed there wasn't one. To me, Hunter was a spineless bastard, and nothing more. He couldn't be more, especially if I planned to take them all down. I clenched my jaw and turned away. The bus was coming down the street now. Good. I was so done with this conversation. Well, I said, forcing back my smile. Good for you. Thanks for that earth-shattering revelation. Skylar. Hunter huffed in frustration. I keep screwing everything up. The bus pulled up to the curb. We can talk again, right? Please, you mean so much to me. And you mean nothing to me, I replied, my voice cold. Hunter flinched. I boarded the bus, not bothering to look back. I found a seat near the back and sat there. What the freaking hell was his problem? Why did he have to bring all that crap up again? I hated Lavinia with every fiber of my being, and to know they dated. That she got a piece of Hunter that I so desperately wanted back turned my stomach, gnarling it into tight, painful knots, like a mess of yarn that was impossible to untangle. Damn it. I huffed, staring out the window. The bus pulled up to an apartment complex, and I got out, hurrying to one of the downstairs units. Travis met me at the door, wearing nothing but a pair of gray sweats that hung low on his narrow hips and a gray matching crop top. I shoved my way into his house, my hands still shaking. Are you good? I asked, checking him over. Mo called. She's a nervous Nellie. Travis rolled his eyes. I'm fine. Mom just got worried when I didn't come back. I'm fine. There was a slight bruise near his eyes, and my temper flared again. Goddamn Razor. He was next on their list, but they needed more time to take him down. I saw the bedroom door to his mom's room was closed. Travis kinked a perfectly manicured brow at me, and I grabbed the back of his neck, hauling him into a desperate kiss. Travis moaned into my mouth, throwing his arms around my broad shoulders and dragging me close. I shoved him up against the wall, breathing heavily as I attacked his mouth. Our lips pressed together, and Travis made a soft noise in his throat, gently parting them, and I slipped my tongue inside. His perfume made my head spin, but I allowed myself to take comfort in all the things he was offering. Travis grunted, grinding his hips against mine as his shirt rode up. I thumbed his prominent hip bones before slinking my hand into his sweats. I stroked just the way he liked it, twisting my wrist just right. Travis was breathless, cantering his hips. I dropped to my knees and let the world fade from my grasp. Chapter 14. Skylar James. So, Travis said, drawing circles on my abs. Not that I'm complaining, but what brought this on? I stared at the ceiling, taking a drag of my cigarette. A thin film of sweat coated my skin from the marathon we just had, and my limbs felt relaxed and weightless. Travis was still wearing his crop top, but he was bare from the waist down. Travis's room looked like 10 unicorns thrown up everywhere. There was an ungodly amount of pink fluffy things, from the fuzzy rugs to the plush pillows, and even a giant pink beanbag chair. The walls were covered in pink posters and fairy lights, casting a rosy glow on everything. I swear, no man should be so obsessed with this color. It was like walking into a cotton candy explosion. I half expected to find a pink unicorn hiding in the closet, plotting its next move. "It sounds like you're complaining," I drawled, not bothering to really answer his question. Travis smirked. "You know you can come to me for anything." "Does that include decor advice?" I snorted. Travis smacked my arm. "No." He snuggled closer to my side. "So what's on your mind?" "Do you want a list? And since when did you become my therapist?" "Since now," Travis snipped. "And you're avoiding the question. Mo said you started talking to Hunter again." I froze at the mention of his name. Travis didn't offer any more, just trailed his fingers over my tattoos, which hide the ridges beneath my skin. "We can't waver," Travis whispered. "We're so close." I grabbed his wrist, hard. "I'm not." I sat up, shoving off the bed. "I just came to tell you not to talk to Razor on your own. I don't trust him not to hurt you." "Worried about me?" Travis smiled, but it mangled a little on his lips. We weren't a thing, despite him wanting us to be. "Not a chance," I uttered, shrugging on my t-shirt and yanking on my pants. "I just don't like seeing my friends left for dead." "Well, the same goes for you," Travis said, tossing me a sock. "I just went to see him to give him the money. That's all." "Fine," I grunted. "Text me the next time you do. Like I said, don't go alone." I turned to face him. Travis was splayed out on the bed like a kitten, his toned legs spread a little, and the evidence of his release still shining on his tight abs. "How's your mom doing?" I asked to distract myself from my thoughts going south. "Fine," he said, slightly breathless. "She had an episode yesterday. It's hard to be here all the time with class and stuff, but the extra money helps." "I'll get more, don't worry." Travis's eyes flashed with fear. "Skylar, you don't have to keep giving me your share. If Razor finds out—" "He won't, because you won't tell me, and neither will I," I said, then sighed. "Just stay out of trouble. I didn't like getting that call from Mo. What are you trying to do? Stress me to death?" "That's the plan," Travis said, then leaned up to kiss me on the lips. "Is it working?" "You would be so lucky," I snorted, pulling away. "All right. Good night." "Night," Travis replied. I walked out the door and made sure it was locked behind me, checking the apartment to see if any of Razor's goons were lying around. I finally grabbed the last bus and headed back to Coach Sullivan's house. God, I was exhausted. Today felt like a whirlwind, and I knew things were just getting started. I couldn't afford to have Travis making reckless mistakes like that again, especially if he wanted to keep himself and his mother safe. I had met Travis a few years ago at Edgewater, along with Mo and Ace. Since Edgewater was the only reform school in the county, they made it co-ed. Travis had been badly beaten by some of the guys who did like his queerness, but I quickly shut them all up with a swift punch to the gut. We became fast friends. It was only recently, that things had morphed into something more. During our time at Edgewater, we also met Razor. Travis and I worked for him on occasion, turning tricks and eventually doing it ourselves. Back then, I didn't care about anything besides making money. It was the only thing that mattered, and even now, with a full ride to WEU, I was always freaking broke. Sure, living with Coach helped out a lot, but I couldn't ask him to pay for my expenses. I'd never be stupid enough to rely solely on anyone ever again in my life. The bus stopped a block or so away from Coach Sullivan's house. The minute I arrived, I used my key to open the door, and I tiptoed into the house, careful not to make a sound. The old floorboards creaked softly under my feet as I slipped through the dark hallway. I found my bed and crawled under the covers, feeling the warmth. My eyes closed, and soon I drifted into peaceful sleep. Would it kill you to put some effort into it? Get it together. Coach Sullivan's voice cracked through the air like a whip, pulling me from the fog of my own thoughts. I hadn't slept well the night before. Everything with Hunter and Razor turning my thoughts inside out. However, it was a few days before game night, and the field was practically humming with energy, like a live wire ready to snap. Everyone was hyped up, muscles twitching with anticipation. I lined up with the rest of the team, my eyes flicking to Mason in front of me. Something glinted in his brown eyes, and it made my hands itch for my blade. He signaled to EJ and Jordy, and suddenly, they were mobilizing. What the hell is going on? I thought, frowning. Skylar, you're up, and don't make me regret it, Coach snapped. I shot Mason a dirty look. Great. If he drops the ball, again, I might just lose it. The snap came and I took control, slipping into my role as the team's quarterback with ease. The field spread out before me, the familiar chaos of a play in motion. Receivers broke free, the defensive line bore down, and in the midst of it all, I could hear Coach's voice ringing in my ear. Move it, Skylar! Right, because yelling always makes things better. I fired off a quick pass to EJ, who danced past a defender like he was at prom, not practice. The game was flowing, the team was synchronized. Even Ty was holding up against the rush, which was saying something. However, the more we played, the more things started to feel kind of off. Then Mason decided to channel his inner hero, or idiot, depending on how you looked at it. We lined up for the next play, a simple handoff to K-Dog, the kind of play you could do in your sleep. The snap came, and I handed the ball to K-Dog, fully expecting Mason to do his job. Except Mason had other ideas. Instead of holding his ground, Mason peeled off, leaving his linebacker post like it was on fire. Seriously? What, did he see a squirrel or something? The gap he left was so wide you could drive a truck through it, and that's exactly what the other team's linebacker did. I saw it happen like a slow-motion nightmare. K-Dog got blindsided, hit hard, and then the worst happened. 4 players pounced on him, smashing him to the ground. The sound was awful, like a car crash, but worse, because it was one of our own. K-Dog crumpled, his face twisted in pain as he grabbed his leg. Damn it! I raced over to K-Dog, and he was gasping, his face white as a sheet as he gripped his kneecap. What the hell? Rage sparked in my core as the medics came barreling over to us. I stepped back to give him some room, and then Hunter was right beside me, yanking off his helmet, his face twisted with anger. Mason stood off to the side, a slow smile curving his lips. Bastard. I moved to rip his freaking head off, but Hunter grabbed my arm. "Not here." I yanked myself free, glaring at him. "Don't touch me!" Hunter flinched, but nodded, turning back to K-Dog, who was being lifted away on a stretcher. Holy crap. Why the hell did Mason do that? We needed K-Dog to play. Was he out of his mind? I was ready to tear into Mason, but Coach Sullivan beat me to it. He stormed toward Mason, his face redder than his whistle. "What the hell were you thinking? You don't break rank like that." But the damage was done. "Sorry, Coach," Mason said, with his head lowered. "You pull a stunt like that, and you'll be watching the entire season on the bench. Do you understand?" "Yes, Coach." "Get out of my sight," Coach Sullivan snarled. He huffed hard, then followed after K-Dog and the medics. I went too, ignoring Hunter and the rest of the team, jogging to keep up. Coach Sullivan and I waited outside the nurses' station. I was still in my football uniform. My cleats clicked on the floor as I paced. Damn it. We'd be so screwed if K-Dog didn't make it. Then the door was opened and the nurse came out. "How is he?" Coach asked. "Well, you're lucky. It's just a mild sprain, but he can't play on it. He'll have to sit this game out, but given time, he'll play the next one." "Thank goodness," Coach huffed. "Thank you." She offered him a shy smile. "You're welcome. You can head out. I'll call his family to pick him up." "Can I see him?" I asked. "Sure." She opened the door, and I walked inside. K-Dog looked worse for wear, but he otherwise seemed fine. "Hey," I bumped his fist. "You good?" "Never better," he said, with a dopey grin, and I scoffed, rolling my eyes. "Do you think he recognized you?" "Not a chance, bro," K-Dog replied. "But I think it's about to get really dangerous out there." I agree. What Mason did was only the beginning. Hang tight. We need to regroup. He wanted to take you out of commission just so that Jordy could play. I need to find out why. No problem. Keep me posted. We bumped fists again, and I walked out. When I got to the locker rooms, they were empty, so I quickly showered and got dressed. I was typing out a text to Mo when I saw a familiar figure standing by the gates, waiting for me. I gritted my teeth and thought about ignoring him, but I knew he'd just find another way to speak to me anyway. "How's K-Dog?" Hunter asked. "Fine." I hitched my backpack higher and walked past him. "You saw what Mason did, right? The bastard left the line open and—" "What do you want?" I barked, turning to look at him. Hunter blinked several times, as if my question made no sense to him. "You said I could help, that we'd, well, that we could talk, right?" "Right. I did say that, but that was before Mason tried to cripple one of my best friends. Anger hardened my heart, and I forced my face to remain blank. I still needed Hunter to get the answers he needed." "Fine, talk. What do you know?" "Jordy's father will be at the game." Hunter lowered his voice. He, mentioned to Mason that because of K-Dog, he wasn't getting much field time. I guess Mason took it to the next level to ensure he would get some. So because Jordy wasn't getting much field time, he decided to almost cripple someone for life? My mouth twitched into a smile. Yup, that sounded like Mason, the deranged bastard. Cool. Anything else? "He thinks you're plotting something against him," Hunter replied. "Actually, he's confident now more than ever. I tried to tell him you weren't, but he doesn't believe me." "I see." I reached into my pocket to light a cigarette. Find out what his next move is. We'll be in touch. Wait. Hunter stepped in front of me. Can we hang out? What for? I stared at him blankly. For old time's sakes, Hunter laughed. I don't know. It's been ages. Just come over and... I have a paper to write. I stormed around him, walked to the bus stop, and stubbed out my cigarette. By the time I boarded, I realized I was shaking. Damn it. I thought back to our earlier conversation and how eager Hunter was to help me. But he didn't know what he was helping me with. Sure, I planned to take down Mason and his crew, but that included Hunter and his father. I clenched my jaw, ignoring the familiar swell of rage as it rose over me. This was going to get messy. Good. Mason freaking deserved it. They all did. Hunter was no exception. I'd crush them all if it's the last thing I do. My phone buzzed in my pocket, and I got off at the next stop. Mo and Ace were already waiting for me in the mall parking lot, along with Ty and Edge. What the hell happened? Mo hissed at me. Exactly what we expected, I replied. Mason reacted. Shock flittered in Mo's eyes. Unprovoked. We haven't even done anything yet. Exactly, Ty hissed. That's who the hell we're dealing with. You should have seen it, man. Mason was unhinged and so damn brazen, leaving the entire line open like that. K-Dog could have been crushed, yo, Edge said. What do we do? Get it together. I snapped at him. Hunter said Jordy wasn't getting enough playtime, so we let him have it. I'll ask Coach to swap K-Dog in with Jordy Moore. We aren't in the position to act just yet. The game is coming up, and I want everything to go perfectly before then. That means no loose ends. Once we started, we can't stop. Mo nodded. Okay, we'll do that. Was anyone else hurt? No, just K-Dog. We still need him to play, so Mason didn't screw the entire team over. I scoffed. Yet. Do you think he'll do more? Ace asked, her voice wavering. He has to, I replied. Look, we all knew what we were dealing with when we started this. There's no going back now. Got it? They all nodded, and I checked the time. I told Coach I'd be back for dinner tonight. I have to go. I'll see you later. I cupped the back of Mo's head and kissed her cheek. Everything will be all right. Promise me, she said softly. I promise. What's wrong? Can't tell time? You're late, Coach grumbled the second I walked through the door at 7:10. I snorted a laugh, too tired from the bus ride to care, and dropped my stuff onto the floor. The smell of chicken fajitas hit me, making my stomach growl. On the table, there was a spread of warm tortillas, grilled chicken strips, peppers, and onions still sizzling from the pan. Bowls of salsa, sour cream, and shredded cheese sat nearby, and a pile of soft, warm tortillas waited to be filled. We sat down to eat, and I couldn't wait to dig in. Bless this dish, bless this spread. May it fill us up and keep us fed. Amen, Coach said. You really need to think of a new way to pray over the food, I snarked, digging in. Why? I don't hear God complaining, Coach muttered. I've reprimanded Mason for the crap he pulled today, so don't bother retaliating. I lifted a brow. How did you know I was planning on retaliating? Coach Sullivan gave me a hard look. Just a hunch. It doesn't matter, it's done. Leave it be, kid. And if I can't, then you'll suffer just like he did. Suicides for a week in addition to jockstrap cleaning and equipment. Need I say more? I shivered. No, thank you. Good. We lapsed into silence, too busy eating the delicious food to talk much. Then something occurred to me. How long have you been in Redwood Creek? Coach didn't miss a beat. Long enough to know there's nothing worth sticking around for, he replied dryly. I moved here from Dallas. Got offered a job at WEU to coach football. My ex-wife and son still live down there, so I visit when I can. Otherwise, it's just me here. I nodded, taking in his words, but something was nagging at the back of my mind. What about Edgewater Reform School? Coach snorted, a bitter smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. The superintendent is Jack Reed's mistress. The whole town knows about it. How they got together. Not that it matters now. He's been investing privately in that place for years. Edgewater isn't like other reform schools. I'm sure you know this, kid. But most of those violent offenders have seen things they shouldn't. My breath caught in my throat. You read my file. Coach didn't look at me, just kept eating his fajita like it was any other night. So, I wanted to know what I was getting into with you living here. And I pressed, needing to know what he thought. And you're a real piece of work, Coach grunted. I don't think you're here for no reason. I remember hearing about what happened to you a few years ago. A scrawny kid from a foster family was found burned and beaten half to death at Redwood Creek Trails Camp. It made the news back then. You were practically a celebrity. Irritation sparked within me, and I snorted a laugh. Is that right? Yep, Coach replied, still eating his food. So, like I said, keep your head down and into the game. Don't go chasing your tail, kid. You aren't going to get the results you want. My eyes narrowed. What the hell is that supposed to mean? Coach Sullivan looked at me. It means, stay out of it. I was stunned into silence, but Coach didn't say anything more, and just went back to eating. When we were done, I cleared the table like I always did, wiping down the dishes and cleaning out the pots and pans. Coach bid me good night, and I went onto the porch to have a smoke. Stay out of it. My lips pursed. It sounded like a warning, but the question was why. If Coach read my file, then he'd know things weren't as simple as they seemed. Smoke curled around my lips as I blew it into the air. We hadn't even begun, yet it felt like Coach knew far more than I was comfortable with. Was someone talking to him? Was it Hunter? No, I couldn't see that happening. Then again, how did he know? My phone buzzed in my pocket, and I checked it immediately. It's done, the text message read from Mo. A slow smile crawled over my lips. Good. The cool night air brushed against my face as I thought about the great civilizations that had crumbled, one small piece at a time. I thought of Rome then and its destruction, like all the great empires that came before it. Stone by stone, brick by brick. Each of my actions could be just one more piece in a larger but inevitable collapse. Chapter 15. Skylar James. I watched the redhead in the front row chew shyly on the end of his pen, all the while shooting me sultry looks. Damn, was it just me, or was college a lot more fun than high school? I watched his pink tongue dart out to lap at the tip and I discreetly adjusted myself in my jeans. The professor was droning on, and I honestly should have been listening, and if it wasn't for the free show, I probably would be. I decided to take criminal law for my undergrad degree, not because I had any grand plans of becoming a lawyer or anything. No, it was more like a necessary evil. If I was going to take down Jack Reed, I needed to understand the game he was playing. Besides, what better way to ruin someone's life than by beating them at their own game? Because nothing says revenge like knowing exactly how to tear apart a corrupt DA's career. The professor dismissed the class, but the redhead jerked his head to the hallway, and I followed. My lips curled when I found him leaning against the wall outside the lecture hall, his face tilted up to me. I braced my hand right beside his head, staring down at those pouty lips. "The things you do with pens should be illegal," I muttered. "Trust me, you haven't seen anything yet," the redhead murmured, licking his pink lips. "What's next? Deep-throating textbooks. Now that's a skill I have to see," I snorted, leaning in closer. Out of my peripheral, I could see 3 other students standing by, clearly waiting for their friends to hurry up. "You should be so lucky." The redhead flushed a little, but there was a stubborn glint in his eyes. "I'm Michael, by the way, and you're Skylar, right? The new quarterback." "My reputation precedes me," I responded. "I didn't know you followed sports." "There isn't much to do in this backwater town anyway," Michael replied. "It's not very titillating, unless I make it so." I liked this guy. I'm sure you have your ways of making the most mundane things titillating." Desire sparked in his eyes. "How about we go somewhere?" "Skylar." Hunter's voice cut through our conversation, and I winced inwardly. "Hey." He came over to us, grinning. I looked down at Michael, who was already slinking away from me. "Great." I dropped my hand and let him go. He flushed. "See you later?" "Unlikely." "Sure," I muttered, then turned to Hunter. "Has anyone ever told you that you have crappy timing?" "All the time," Hunter laughed. "Look, I was wondering if you were busy tonight. If you call doing homework and questioning my life choices busy, then yes, I'm absolutely swamped." Hunter laughed, and I hated how much my gut twisted at the sound. I spun on my heels and started walking, trying to ignore the feeling sizzling beneath my skin. Being close to him again always made my head spin. It was like all those feelings I'd pushed away came rushing back, all at once. The second I got outside, I immediately lit a smoke and took a deep drag, trying to calm my nerves. Anyway, my dad will be away visiting family tonight, so I thought since it's the weekend before the game, you could come over. Come over? The 2 words seemed almost foreign to me. What for? A sleepover. Hunter grinned. 2 grown men having a sleepover? How very mature of us. Should I bring my teddy bear and a nightlight? Or are we skipping straight to braiding each other's hair? "You wish you could braid my hair?" Hunter snorted. I eyed him. Yes, his hair was silky smooth, and it looked almost better than those damn Garnier hair commercials for women. "You caught me," I deadpanned. "So you'll come?" Hunter asked, not missing a beat. I gritted my teeth, not wanting to outright refuse, but Mo and I still needed to go over our plan for what was going down at the first game of the season. Last night she had texted me that everything had been put into motion, meaning we were all set. What will your other friends say? I drawled, blowing smoke in his face. Hunter waved it away. Don't do that, asshole. What if I had asthma? I couldn't help but glance at Hunter's mouth as he spoke, my eyes catching on the perfect dip of his Cupid's bow and the soft, inviting curve of his lips. You don't. But I could have. You don't know that. Hunter growled. Who cares what they think? I want to spend time with you. Just come over. It's only for one night. One night? I scoffed inwardly. We both knew Hunter was full of crap. It wasn't just for one night. Sooner or later he'd be asking me to stay more and more, just like old times. Fine. Besides, I needed information on Mason and the others anyway, before we put our plan into motion. Fine. I shrugged, stubbing out my cigarette. Hunter beamed and we walked to the bus stop. He didn't speak much, and neither did I. I texted Mo and then Coach Sullivan to let them know where I was going and with who. Mo texted me several expletives before telling me to be careful, and Coach just sent me a thumbs-up emoji. Prick, I muttered, but laughed fondly. Who? Hunter asked. Nothing. I stared at the bus window, watching the scenery pass us by. We were silent the entire drive, but it wasn't awkward. Hunter was still practically buzzing by the time we got to his apartment, and I could tell he'd spent some time tidying the place up. The front living room was set up with pillows and snacks, with controllers nearby for us if we decided to play a video game. He even bought some of my favorite candy. A furious laughter almost burst out of me, and I thought briefly about burning this place to the ground. But I plastered on a fake smile and threw my stuff near the door. There's pizza and soda in the fridge. Do you want some chips? Hunter asked. Sure. So, Hunter said, smiling. What do you want me to kick your ass in? Call of Duty? Grand Theft Auto? Black Ops? All of the above? Black Ops. Okay. Hunter pursed his lips, and I could tell my one-word answers were getting to him. But screw him if he thought he could woo me with some cheap junk food and video games. My entire freaking life had been destroyed because of him, because of his inaction and cowardice. I gripped the controller until my knuckles were white and forced myself to calm down. A few hours later, I was mashing the buttons furiously, sending my character into a rampage on the screen. It was almost therapeutic, and I almost forgot why I loved video games so much. There was nothing like that escape, disappearing into a world where you could take out all your frustration in a fictional world. Boo, yeah! I shouted. Who's your daddy? Not my daddy, Hunter hooted back. Damn, nice move. Yeah, well, virtually smashing skulls is cheaper than therapy, I scoffed. Nice try. But maybe next time don't aim like a blindfolded toddler. Hunter snorted. I rolled my eyes, the corner of my mouth twitching. At least I don't need a GPS to find the target, Grandpa. Sure. Keep talking. Just remember, I'm the one carrying this team. Carrying? More like dragging dead weight, I shot back, flicking a grenade into the middle of a horde. You want me to send you the tutorial link again? Or do you think you can manage this time? Please, I don't need a tutorial to mop the floor with you. But if you keep playing like that, I might suggest remedial gaming. Big talk from the guy who just died 3 times in a row, I retorted, quickly finishing off another enemy. Need me to call in a life coach? Or do you prefer to stick with sucking? I'd worry about your own game, champ. If you don't step it up, you'll be crying yourself to sleep tonight. You wish, I said, finally cracking a grin. But don't worry, I'll leave the tears to you. You've had more practice after all. Damn it, Hunter screamed as his character was shot to death. The blood sprayed all over the screen. Game over was written in large letters over his screen. I threw my head back and laughed. I laughed so freaking hard that my stomach hurt. Damn! You didn't even last 2 hours, I said, trying to stifle my chuckle. When was the last time you played this game? You suck at it. Hunter laughed, too. I don't know, man. At least a few years. I didn't have anyone to play with. Now that piqued my interest. How come? Mason doesn't play video games? They do, just not with me, Hunter replied, then chewed on his bottom lip. It was our thing. I didn't want to play with them. It's stupid, I know, but Mason always seemed like a sore loser. My lips twitched. Incredible. You've really outdone yourself with that profound observation. Shut up. You know what I mean, Hunter huffed. He stood up, and I tried not to watch his ass when he bent over to put the pizza in the oven. I forced myself to open a bag of chips and started munching on them to keep myself distracted. Hunter undid his ponytail, letting his hair frame his face in ringlets. My throat went dry, and I cursed myself and the stupid attraction I felt toward him. Damn it. It had been 2 years. Why wasn't I over this already? So, you and that redhead, Hunter said, staring at me. Did I interrupt you? I squinted at him. Yes. Sorry, he laughed. I didn't mean to. You know, when you came back, I wasn't sure if you, because of how close you and Mo were, and he sputtered to a stop. I just wanted you to know how I acted before. That was stupid. I don't care. You don't care? I repeated slowly, not sure I understood what we were talking about. Okay. I mean, who you date, and if you want to talk about it or whatever, you can talk to me, he finished, looking flustered. I eyed him. So, you want to hear about my conquests? Sure. He shrugged like it was no big deal. He'd nearly blown a gasket when I came out to him, and now he wanted to hear about who I was screwing. That was rich. I scoffed, shaking my head. Sure, Davis. I'm serious, Hunter replied. I mean, you seemed close to that other guy at the party. Are you two dating? What guy? I almost said, and then I realized he was talking about Travis. Right. Kelly's party. That night had been a bit hazy for me, but I distinctly remember Hunter following us up a flight of stairs and watching me suck Travis off. Damn, that had been hot. Hunter was flushing bright red now, and I knew he wasn't gay. He was probably just curious as to what we were doing. My lips curled, and I leaned back on my hands. If you count sucking each other off in the bathroom as a date, then sure. But if you don't, then no, we aren't dating. But he seemed into you, Hunter said lamely. So? I clipped. We just screw. Friends with benefits and all that jazz. The same way you and Lavinia do. Hunter's flush deepened. Look, I wanted to explain that. There's nothing to explain. You dumped me just to get your dick wet. I don't care. I'm past it all that jazz by now, I said, but my tone held a biting edge. Skylar, Hunter rasped. It was stupid, and I should have realized it then. You were my brother back then. I was just swept up in the glamour of it all. She meant nothing to me, and I... Really? I heard she was head cheerleader, one of the hottest girls in school. I gritted out. I doubt she meant nothing to you. Nothing as in nothing close to what you meant to me. I highly doubt that, given the fact that she almost killed me and you still dated her. Skylar, Hunter huffed. I meant what I said. She didn't mean anything to me, and her personality was complete garbage. Oh, thank you for that stunning display of common sense. I'm floored. I stood, taking out my smokes as I headed to the balcony. The anger smoldered like an ember, small but steady. Every word, every memory fed it. And soon it caught fire, igniting into a blaze that burned through my calm facade. I needed to get the hell away from him before I exploded. I heard the screen door open and close, followed by the warmth of Hunter's body as he stood behind me. We were quiet, the city lights flickering in the distance like scattered stars across the horizon. Each one pulsed with a muted glow, reflecting off the glassy surfaces of the buildings, casting long, eerie shadows that stretched toward us. My silent rage simmered beneath the surface, as steady and relentless as those distant lights. Do you hate me? Hunter breathed. Yes, I spoke without hesitation. Hunter took a stuttering breath. I felt his hands move, but he didn't touch me, and I itched to take out my knife. He sighed. I won't make excuses. Everything you said was right. Will you give me a chance? Please, let me make it up to you. Make it up to me? I scoffed. Can you mend broken bones? Reconstruct torn muscle and flesh? Can you turn back time? I wanted to scream at him, but I kept my mouth slammed shut. Hunter and his stupid nativity, but I needed him to take down Mason and his father. And then I'd destroy him. I forced a smile, turning to face him. Water under the bridge, my friend. Don't do that, Hunter said. Don't give me those oily smiles. I know you too well. My face froze. My lips twitched violently as I struggled to keep the smile plastered to my face, and I barked a laugh. Oh? You know me so well, huh? I used to, Hunter clarified. We were brothers once. I think I know you better than most. Better than Mo. I didn't realize you were in a pissing contest with her, I said, taking a drag and blowing smoke in the air. Good luck. She has excellent aim. So do I, Hunter replied. I'll help you take down Mason and the others like I promised, but you have to do something for me. A jolt of anger tore through me. Do something. For him. Was he out of his freaking mind? Hunter must have seen it on my face, because he was backtracking immediately. What I mean is, you have to be my friend again. My best friend. Until everything is resolved. I see, I drawled. So, you plan to hold me hostage? Like blackmail? Huh. I like the direction this conversation is taking. Something like that, Hunter replied, then licked his dry lips. I plan to keep you beside me for as long as possible. I scoffed, but heat crawled up my neck. I hated when he said stuff like that because he didn't know what it meant to me. Years ago, when I was living with my foster father, I would have given anything for Hunter to say those words to me. It was why I kept living with the abusive bastard in the first place. Fine. Let's see how long you last, being my friend. I cocked my head. Then the timer to the oven went off, signaling that the food was ready. After we ate, we were too drowsy to do anything more than sit and watch TV, Hunter handed me some spare clothes and went to his bedroom to get changed. I sighed as I stared at the sweats, reluctantly peeling off my shirt and jeans. Just as I was about to put on the shirt, I heard a sharp intake of breath. Hunter stood at the door, eyes wide as he took in the sight. A wild laugh almost escaped me, and instead of putting on the shirt, I let it hang at my side. The cross-hatched scar tissue on my back and torso was a cruel tapestry, covered by tattoos, but still raised and ridged beneath the ink. I knew exactly what Hunter was looking at, and a dark satisfaction twisted in my chest. I wanted him to see what his friends had done to me. I strolled towards him, deliberately tracing the scar on my collarbone. Remember this? Lavinia did this. I ran my fingers over the flower-shaped scar tissue near my neck. And this? Mason punched me, and the glass cut so deep it almost nicked an artery. I let the words hang in the air, savoring his horror. A furious delight swelled inside me. Hunter had no idea what I was planning to do to them. And this? I touched the jagged thunderbolt on my stomach. I leaned in closer, my breath washing over the shell of his ear. This one, I have you to thank for. The old knife wound on my belly had healed into a jagged, discolored scar. The once deep cut was now a raised, uneven line. The skin stretched and puckered. Stop it, Hunter hissed, but he was shaking. I leaned back, smiling. Or else what? Hunter's nostrils flared. You want me to feel like crap? I get it. I already tear myself apart every day for what they've done to you. I can't stomach it. Even when I say I'm sorry, I know it isn't enough. I should have... His voice cracked. I should have protected you. I should have been your brother. I wasn't, and you have every right to hate me. But I don't hate you. I love you. My stomach climbed into my throat. You what? I balked at him, not sure what the hell Hunter was saying. He loved me. What? As a brother, Hunter sputtered. I mean, I love you, Hunter, as my family. Oh, right, I snorted, then turned away. Whatever you say, Hunter. Now, I'm beat. Do you mind if I go to bed? Hunter bit his lip. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. You can... He swallowed. Good night. He turned off the lights, and I spread out on the couch, with my hand behind my head. I stared up at the yellowing ceiling. I love you. The words rang inside my head, and each time I replayed them, my stomach twisted up in knots. I love you. Hunter said the words with pure conviction, as if stating a fact. It would have been funny if it wasn't absolutely bull. I curled my hand into a fist, the fury seizing the breath in my throat. Love. What a cruel thing to say. As if Hunter loved anyone besides himself. No, I'd take the bastard down when he least expected it. This wasn't just a fight. This was an all-out war.
Chapter 16. Hunter Davis. I'm serious, bro, Mason said, shoving his phone in EJ's face. It's a real scout. Bull, EJ muttered, squinting at the text message. What kind of scout would contact you directly, and why hasn't Coach heard about it? I don't know. Mason shrugged, then hugged his phone protectively. I'm sure he will. Maybe they want to get to know me first. Nah, bro, Jordy injected. It sounds like you've been catfished. Mason grumbled under his breath, but we all knew he wasn't going to let it go. We were on the field practicing for a big day, and I wished I was anywhere else, mostly because the guys weren't really practicing, but talking smack about Mason's new scout. The idea that a scout reached out to him on his first game was quite frankly the most absurd thing I've ever heard, but when he showed us the text messages, I couldn't help but think it was a scam too. Coach Sullivan said it was highly unlikely that scouts would be there without notifying him or the school first, and point-blank asked Mason who he pissed off to have someone catfish him like that. We all laughed, but Mason didn't. He thought it was real. Sighing, I tossed the ball into the air and caught it. Honestly, being at the WEU football field at night is kinda spooky but cool. The grass is wet and smells fresh, like after rain. I hear crickets chirping everywhere. The air feels chilly, almost like it's whispering. The lights shine down, making everything look like a big green ocean under the dark sky. I wonder what Skylar would think if I asked him to play a game with me, you know? Like old times. We've recently begun hanging out more, and I must say it has my heart tripping over itself most days. Skylar was just so different from before. From his nose ring to his tattoos to his new friends. He seemed cool in a way that made me feel like I was lacking, but I was determined to make it up to him. Even if he was reluctant to trust me again, I couldn't blame him though. I had screwed up a lot in the past, and no amount of bonding or gifts would ever make up for it. At home, things were different too. Dad seemed happier. He talked more and constantly asked when Skylar was coming over. I didn't know much about Skylar's life or where he was living. I assumed it was on campus. So, I tracked him down and found out that he was studying law, which had been a shock since he never expressed any interest in it, not even when we were kids. Whatever, Mason said. I told my dad to check it out. He'll be there for the game anyway, so... We all stared at Mason like he'd grown a second head. Jack Reed at one of Mason's football games. It was practically unheard of. EJ grabbed Mason's chin, pretending to check him over. Well, you don't look possessed, but let's perform the exorcism right away. I think some kind of entity has taken over your body and made you hallucinate. Mason shoved him off and Jordy laughed. I'm not kidding, he's coming. So are my brothers. How come? I asked. Not that Jack Reed didn't bring sunshine and rainbows wherever he went. I was with EJ on this one. Jack hated the fact that all Mason did was play football. I think he expected him to study law or something like his older brothers. He constantly talked crap about how it was a useless sport and how Mason's time was spent doing other things. Hell if I know, Mason scoffed. I do, EJ hummed. I think it has to do with Evelyn Grant being there also. Mason immediately stiffened. It was a well-known secret that Jack Reed wasn't exactly faithful, but who knew his mistress was Evelyn Grant, the superintendent of Edgewater Reform School. I had only met her once, and felt a chill so cold from her that meeting her once was more than enough. It was hard to imagine people like that being intimate. Jack was a douche, and Evelyn looked like she was carved from ice. The idea of Jack and Evelyn together was like imagining a cactus hugging a glacier, painful and unnatural. I mean, Jack probably thought Fidelity was a brand of cereal, and Evelyn, she could frost a cake just by looking at it. What a pair. Damn, bro. What if you have like half-brothers you don't know about and... Shut up, EJ, Jordy barked. Mason's face twisted like he'd just swallowed a lemon, and his hands curled into a fist. Maybe EJ wasn't far off the mark. For as long as I've known Mason, Evelyn Grant has been a permanent fixture in his life, to the point that Mason's mom, Sarah Reed, barely left her house because the rumors were so bad. Whatever. I'm done here. Mason picked up his gear and walked off the field. EJ and Jordy hurried to follow since Mason was their ride. They bumped fists with me and walked away. I stayed for a bit longer, thinking back to Skylar. My phone buzzed and I hurried to grab it, a slow smile tugging on my lips. It dropped the second I saw the name flashing there. Lavinia. Damn it. Yeah? I asked, grabbing my stuff and hauling my duffel over my shoulder. Hey, what are you doing? A few of us were going to get together for drinks and... I don't drink before a game. Oh, right. Anyways, I'm about to catch the bus, so I'll talk to you later. Okay, yeah. Bye. She hung up and I breathed a sigh of relief. I should have blocked her after Kelly's party. Actually, let me do that now. I went to her contact info and blocked her so she couldn't message me again. We were over and I didn't want to keep talking to her, because obviously she kept getting the wrong idea. As I walked to the bus stop, I scrolled through my messages sent to Skylar. Almost all of them were unanswered, and I wondered if he blocked me too. By the time I got home, Dad was already fast asleep, snoring like a lawnmower. I quietly chucked my gear into the laundry, hoping it wouldn't stink up the place by morning, then headed to bed. But no matter how hard I tried, I just couldn't sleep. My thoughts kept drifting back to Skylar. I squirmed under the covers, feeling my face get hot. I hadn't meant to walk in on him changing, but when I did, it hit me why he always kept his body hidden. His tattoos might have looked cool, but underneath them, the scars were impossible to miss, raised and bumpy, jagged lines that twisted across his skin. My stomach churned as I stared at them, and it struck me that they were new. I swallowed around the blockage in my throat. What kind of hell had Skylar been living? How could I get him to stay with us? Mo's words about my father being involved had cut me to the bone, and I needed to figure out if it was true. Was my father really involved, or was it all just a misunderstanding? I couldn't imagine it. My father loved Skylar. He treated him like a son. There was no way my father had been involved in any of this. I dug the heels of my palms into my eyes and sighed. Crap, everything was so messed up. I wanted Skylar safe. I wanted him whole. I just had no freaking idea on how to do either of those things. The roar of the crowd outside was like a wave crashing over the stadium, filling the air with electric energy. I was pumped to the max, ready to tear it up on the field. We headed to the locker room to gear up, but just as we got there, I heard raised voices in the hallway. I frowned, then walked out, half-dressed in my gear, to see what it was about. Mason was standing in front of his father, his broad shoulders hunched in a black sweater and sweatpants. The tension between them was almost visible, like a thick fog. "You better play your hardest, you hear me, boy? I don't want you to embarrass me out on the field." Jack Reed's voice was sharp, cutting through the noise. "Your mother finally got her lazy ass out of bed to be here because she heard there might be a scout in the audience." He scoffed, his lips curling into a sneer. "I think she's full of crap, as if anyone would want your dumb ass. Just play the damn game and don't critically injure yourself later." I could feel my fists clench at his words, a surge of anger bubbling up inside me. It didn't matter that Mason and I weren't exactly best friends. Hearing someone talk to him like that made my skin crawl. Mason's head was bowed, his jaw so tight that his cheek was twitching. "Yes, sir." "Mr. Reed," Coach Sullivan said, stepping out of the locker room, his tone calm but firm. "Sorry to break up your chat, but Mason needs to get ready now." "Fine, I'll see you when you're done." He strode off without a backward glance, leaving a heavy silence in his wake. Coach sighed, placing a hand on Mason's shoulder and steering him toward the locker room. I followed, my mind racing. Mason kept his head down, but the tension in his body was palpable. It made my chest tighten just thinking about the pressure he was under. We didn't always see eye to eye, but no one deserved to be treated like that, especially by their own father. As we walked into the locker room, I caught Mason's eye for a split second. Then he looked away. He didn't say anything, and neither did I. Sometimes the battles we face off the field are the hardest ones to win. Coach's voice echoed through the locker room, snapping us all to attention. "All right, team, you better play your hearts out tonight. We're up against the Titans from NYU, and it's on our turf. Let's show them what happens when they go up against the Gladiators." His eyes locked onto me, and his voice cut through the noise. "Hunter, get your ass over here." "Yes, coach," I roared, adrenaline pumping through my veins. The energy in the room was electric, every one of us buzzing with anticipation. I couldn't hold back the shout that rose in my chest. "Listen up, Gladiators. This isn't just another game. This is our game. The Titans might think they can come in here and take us down, but they have no idea what they're up against. We're not just a team, we're a family, and tonight we fight for each other. We've trained too hard, pushed too far, to let anyone come into our house and take what's ours. When we hit that field, we hit it together. Every play, every tackle, every yard, we fight for it like it's our last. Granite Peak, stand as one. Gladiators never run," I howled. Granite Peak, stand as one. Gladiators never run. Everyone roared back, the sound of our voices shaking the walls. "Now let's play." The room erupted with cheers, the noise deafening as everyone banged on lockers, clapped each other on the back, and shouted their agreement. The excitement was contagious, spreading like wildfire. We were ready. The Gladiators were ready. I laughed, looking around the locker room, and my eyes landed on Skylar. He stood with his tattooed arms crossed, his expression neutral, but something in his pale blue eyes made my blood run cold. He licked his pink lips and smirked, racing out of the locker room with the other guys. "What the hell?" Mason barked, his face twisted. "What happened to my gear?" Coach and I raced over and saw that his jersey had been swapped for something 2 sizes too small, making it look almost comically ridiculous on Mason's massive frame. "What the hell?" Mason slammed his bag down so hard it smashed against the locker. "Calm down, son," Coach snapped. "I'll see if we have any spares. Hunter, get your ass on the field. I'll handle this." "Coach," the desperation in Mason's voice made the hairs on my arm bristle. "I need to play. Please, it's all I have left." "You'll play, son. If God is my witness, you'll play." Coach rounded on me. "Didn't you hear me, Hunter? Get your ass on the field." Right, I raced out of there, but my heart was hammering. I took my position on the field, the weight of the game settling on my shoulders. The crowd was roaring, the lights were blinding, but something wasn't right. My eyes flicked to Skylar, standing just a little too still, a little too calm. It wasn't like him. He was usually intense, sharp, always a step ahead. But tonight, there was an eerie coolness about him, like he was detached from the chaos around us. Then I saw him talking quietly with Ty. The way they were huddled together, exchanging quick, serious words, sent a chill down my spine. I frowned, watching as Ty suddenly swapped in for Mason. Damn it, that wasn't part of the plan. We'd been practicing this play for months, and now, with Mason out, everything was screwed up. I gritted my teeth, frustration bubbling up inside me, but I shoved it down and got into position anyway. I couldn't let it mess with my head. I glanced at Ty, who was now in Mason's spot, and signaled the play. The ball was about to be snapped when suddenly the locker room doors burst open. Mason came storming out, dressed in his jersey. But something was off. His uniform was 2 sizes too small, clinging to his body like it had shrunk in the wash. The bottom of the jersey barely reached his waist, leaving a sliver of skin exposed like a damn crop top. The field erupted with laughter, and I could hear the crowd booing. The announcers didn't waste a second, their voices crackling over the speakers with barely concealed amusement. "Looks like Mason Reed's got himself a new fashion statement tonight, folks," one of them quipped, and the other chimed in. Maybe he's trying out for the cheerleading squad instead of the football team. Within 5 minutes, our team had turned into a laughingstock. Mason's face was bright red, his eyes wild with embarrassment and anger. But even with everyone mocking him, he didn't back down. He marched right up to Ty, practically shoving him out of the way. "I'm playing," Mason growled. Ty looked at me for a second, like he was waiting for my call, but I didn't have time to think. Mason was already lining up, forcing Ty off the field. Damn it, this wasn't how it was supposed to go down. My mind raced, trying to recalibrate the play with Mason back in, but it was a mess. The laughter from the stands still echoed in my ears, making it hard to focus. Mason was stubborn, no doubt about it, but this was going to cost us. I took a deep breath, trying to block out the noise, trying to find the right words to call the next play. But all I could think about was the disaster that had just unfolded, and the uneasy feeling that tonight was going to be a lot tougher than any of us had expected. We lined up for the play, trying to push through the chaos and get our heads back in the game. The laughter from the crowd still buzzed in the background, but I forced myself to focus, calling the snap. The ball was in motion, and I was ready to execute, but as Mason pushed off the line, everything went wrong. He slipped. His foot shot out from under him, and he crashed to the ground, taking down another player with him. My heart sank as I saw it happen, a split second before the Titans seized the opening. They blew past the line, gaining yard after yard, and before I knew it, they had already taken the advantage. 2 minutes in, and we were already playing catch-up. Damn it. My mind raced as I tried to process what had just happened. Mason struggled to his feet, but there was something wrong with the way he was moving, unsteady and off balance. That's when I saw it. The cleats on his shoes had been filed down to a nub, leaving him with no grip on the turf. It was like trying to run on ice. My stomach twisted in frustration and anger. This wasn't just bad luck. Someone had sabotaged him. The Titans were celebrating their early lead, and the crowd's mood had shifted, sensing blood in the water. Meanwhile, Coach Sullivan was fuming on the sidelines. His face was red, his eyes locked on Mason as he barked out orders. "Mason, get out of the game now!" Coach's voice was like thunder, and Mason didn't even try to argue. He tore off his helmet, his face flushed with embarrassment and rage. He whipped the helmet across the field, the heavy thunk of it hitting the ground echoing in the silence that followed. Everyone froze for a moment, shocked by the outburst. Then, before anyone could say anything, Mason turned on his heel and stormed off, his fists clenched at his sides. I could see the pain in his eyes, the humiliation. Crap, we were so screwed. There was so much riding on this game, and my face was on fire as the air whooshed in my lungs. "Ty, you're in! Let's get it moving!" Coach Sullivan caught my eye and nodded. "Right. This. Focus." I swallowed hard and went back to the game. The final whistle blew, and it felt like a lead weight dropping onto my chest. The game was over, and we'd lost. The Titans had crushed us, and we trudged back into the locker room, our bodies covered in dirt and sweat, our spirits just as battered. Everyone's shoulders were slumped, the defeat hanging heavy in the air. The mood was as bleak as it could get, and I knew there was nothing I could say to change it. When we walked in, Mason was already there, sitting on one of the benches. His jaw was clenched, his face a storm of frustration and pain. The sight of him, stewing in silence, only deepened the gloom that had settled over the room. I went to grab a towel, trying to clean up and clear my head, but the atmosphere was suffocating. Just then, Mason broke the silence, his voice slicing through the stillness like a knife. "I know it was you who messed with my things, Fairy," he spat, causing every head in the room to snap toward him. All eyes turned to me, searching for a reaction. I felt a cold sweat break out on my forehead, and I tried to keep my face neutral, but inside, my heart was pounding. Mason's accusation hit me like a ton of bricks, and suddenly, all the frustration and confusion from the game were boiling over. "Cut it out," I barked at Mason. "No! You know what he is." "What he did," Mason snarled, standing to his full height. Before I could blink, Edge and Ty were right behind Skylar, backing him up. Damn it, this was bad. "Hey, cool it." I pressed my palm to Mason's chest and shoved. "You have no evidence he did anything, so just let it go." "Let it go," Mason growled. "There was a scout in the stands tonight, and I looked like a total." His words cut off when low maniacal laughter made my stomach clench. Skylar was laughing. His fist was over his mouth trying to stop it, but it burst free, and all at once I knew Mason was actually right. "So it was you," Mason snarled. "You were messing with me." Skylar just grinned. That same infuriating smile made my skin crawl. What was he trying to do pissing off Mason like this? I knew he wanted revenge, but should it really be like this? Humiliating Mason didn't seem right, because we had all lost the game. There were guys on the team who needed this for their scholarships, myself included. What would happen if we couldn't play anymore? "That's not freaking cool, man," EJ snapped. Skylar waved off Edge and Ty and walked right up to Mason. In terms of size and bulk, Mason towered over him, but it was Skylar's eyes that had everyone frozen like ice. They were pure lighter fluid. Ready, set, match. "If you think it's me," Skylar drawled, "prove it." Rage skittered across Mason's face, and he swung. Skylar ducked and punched Mason so hard in the gut, he crumpled around his fist. EJ cursed and jumped in, but Edge intercepted with a swift punch to his temple that sent him staggering. Then, it broke out into a full-blown brawl. Chapter 17, Hunter Davis. What the freaking hell? This can't be happening. My heart pounded as fists flew, bodies crashed, and the noise was deafening. They were fighting like they wanted to kill each other. "Hey, break it up! Break it!" I tried to yell, but before I could finish, an elbow came out of nowhere and slammed into my temple. Pain shot through my skull, and everything turned white. I stumbled, my vision a blur, and crashed hard into the cold metal lockers. I shook my head hard, struggling to get to my feet. Through the haze, I saw Skylar. His face was twisted in a demonic sneer as he rammed his head into Mason's temple. It was like a battering ram slamming into a castle gate. Mason reeled, staggering back so hard he tripped over his feet onto the ground. Blood gushed from his nose, but instead of stopping, he just laughed. A chilling, crazy sound that sent shivers down my spine. Then Edge jumped in, his fists a blur of motion. His punches landed with terrifying precision, and I heard the sickening crunch as Jordy's head snapped to the side. My stomach twisted. Ty was next, moving like a wild animal, his muscles rippling as he landed a brutal uppercut right under EJ's chin. EJ's head snapped back, slamming into the bench with a loud crack that made my blood run cold. I wanted to scream, to run, but I was frozen, watching in horror as the fight raged on, feeling like the world had spun out of control. Then the doors slammed open, and Coach Sullivan, along with several other guys from security, were jumping in head first and forcing everyone apart. "All right, break it up! Break it up! Jesus Christ! The next person who throws a punch is suspended," Coach Sullivan bellowed. "What the hell's the matter with you? You lose one game and you want to tear each other apart." I stood off to the side, panting. Mason was clutching his head. EJ and Jordy were being escorted to the nurse's office, and so were a few other guys. I turned to look at Skylar, who had blood pouring down his temple, that manic grin still plastered to his face. It was his eyes that made ice water drip down my spine. They were black, flaming with hatred so thick and deep, it was like looking into the seventh circle of hell. My breath caught when I saw his switchblade at his side. It was snapped open, but clean. He didn't stab anyone, but it was clear by his trembling grip that he wanted to. All those who are injured, get your asses to the nurse's office. The rest of you, clear out of here, Coach Sullivan barked. I kept my eyes on Skylar as he bumped fists with Edge and Ty, then headed straight to the nurse's office, still wearing his football gear. I followed after him, not caring about anything else, as my cleats clicked on the linoleum floor. The nurse was bandaging his forehead when I came in, but she said nothing, allowing me to watch her dab some antiseptic on the wound and then place 2 strips of gauze over it. Rest here for a moment. You have a mild concussion, so don't move around too much. She left. Skylar didn't look at me. He kept his gaze fixed ahead. I was a ball of nerves, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Mason had been humiliated tonight. Someone had texted him about there being scouts in the audience, then messed with his uniform, and I had no doubt that it was Skylar. The question was why? What was he trying to prove? What was the point in doing that? I swallowed around the blockage in my throat and got down on my knees in front of him. Skylar shot me a weary look. His mouth thinned into a hard line. Taking a deep breath, I stared up at him. Did you do it? Skylar's pale blue eyes bore into mine. Yes. Why? You know why. But I licked my dry lips. What did you hope to gain by doing that? Skylar laughed, and that sound made my stomach churn. Run along, rabbit. If you aren't interested in getting your hands dirty, then beat it. Rabbit? I frowned. It was the first time he called me that, and I realized it was something that EJ had called him mockingly in summer camp. But, I frowned, trying to process his words. We lost the game. And, who gives a crap? Is it my fault Mason can't play, or that your leadership skills are left wanting? Skylar hissed. What the hell is that supposed to mean? We didn't lose because of Mason, Skylar snorted. We lost because your head was so far up your ass you couldn't see straight. So what if Mason was wearing clothes that were too tight, or his cleats were messed up? He was called out of the game long before you screwed it up. Me? I sputtered incredulously. The vein in his forehead throbbed. Yes, you. You know what? Maybe if you hadn't thrown that pathetic duck into triple coverage in the third quarter, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And don't get me started on that Hail Mary attempt. What were you thinking? You had 2 seconds on the clock, and instead of stepping up in the pocket and finding your hot read, you decided to lob a prayer into the end zone like some goddamn rookie. My jaw dropped. I opened my mouth to argue, but he cut me off. And let's talk about your footwork. You were backpedaling like a scared kid in a haunted house instead of planting your feet and delivering a clean pass. Hell, even your handoffs were sloppy. That fumble in the red zone. That's on you, not Mason's cleats or his tight jersey or whatever else you're blaming. You were the one who didn't have the ball security to keep us in the game. My face burned with embarrassment as Skylar continued his relentless assault. You didn't even read the defense right half the time. The Titans were running a cover 2 shell, and you acted like they were playing man. How many times did you try to force the ball to the outside when you should have hit the seam route? Or when you stared down your primary receiver like a neon sign telling the safeties exactly where to go? You made us predictable, and they ate us alive. Each word was smashed over my head like a brick. So, yeah, Mason is a bastard, but he isn't the captain of the team. You don't play, so nobody freaking plays. The fish rots at the head, Hunter. How could I concentrate when, I sputtered. Great leadership skills, Skylar scoffed. It's always someone else's fault, right? Well, good luck with that. That's not fair. I flushed with rage, my hands curling into a fist. I was trying my best out there, and there was so much other stuff going on. Maybe you're right, I'm not the best leader, but it takes a team effort and everyone was distracted by what was happening with Mason. I mean, Jesus Christ, we were turned into laughingstocks out there on our own turf. And? Was that all he had to say? Unless you have more planned. I'm blown away by your ability to say exactly what everyone was already thinking. Skylar, I rasped, you can't do this. The whole team will suffer. Oh, please, enlighten me further with your unparalleled expertise. Damn it, I wasn't getting through to him no matter what. His hatred for Mason and the others ran deep. I had to figure out a way to get him to hold off on his plans for now, at least until we made it to state championships. We couldn't continue on this way, or else the team would tear itself apart. I leaned in closer to keep my voice low, but noticed how his eyes flickered to my lips. Oh, Skylar was gay, right? I thought back on the other times I had caught him staring at my mouth and shoved it away. But now I realized that maybe the reason I was so offended by the fact that Skylar was queer was because I knew, deep down, that he was attracted to me. It was hard for him to hide the flush on his cheeks whenever I took off my shirt, or how my skin kept buzzing whenever his eyes kept darting away from my form. Skylar wanted me. That's what freaked me out when we were kids. But did I want him? I had no idea. The only girl I was attracted to seemed to be Lavinia, but that dissipated like smoke the second we got closer, and I realized what she really was. How did I feel about Skylar? I loved him. That much I knew, but it teetered more on platonic love than anything else. Could I use that to my advantage to make things right between us? I braced my hands on the bench side. His thighs, leaning in so close I could feel his hot breath washing over my cheek. I couldn't help but glance at Skylar's mouth, noticing the way his thin lips curved slightly, as if holding back words that could cut like a knife. I desperately wanted to ease the tension there, to tell him that no matter what, I'd always be by his side, and I would never leave him again. What can I do to change your mind? I whispered to him. You don't want to ask me that. His nostrils flared. I swallowed. My throat dry clicked as I kept inching forward. Skylar gave an audible gasp, his lips parted. What are you doing? You want me? I asked, uncertainty in my voice. The most Lavinia and I had done was a few pecks and light kisses over the years, so I knew I wasn't as experienced as Skylar. I thought about him on his knees in front of that guy, and all the blood rushed to my head, making me dizzy. Would he do that for me? I felt my face burn. Skylar scoffed, but it came out high-pitched and breathless. Your talent for pointing out the painfully obvious is truly unmatched. I can give you something in return, I spoke, ignoring his tone. You want to trade? He said with disgust. You for Mason? Well, when he said it like that, it sounded bad, but it wasn't like that. College is a time for experimenting, right? Besides that, I just wanted Skylar to stay with me. Me for the game. Carry out your plans anywhere except the field and I'll help you. For the game, Skylar echoed. For the game, I said. I wet my lips. Deal. Skylar didn't respond, but I could see his arms were shaking. I gathered all the courage I could and leaned in, gently testing the water to see if he'd push me away. He didn't. He sat ramrod straight, the muscles in his jaw twitching as I slowly brushed our noses together. A spark of heat pooled in my belly, spreading outward to my limbs. I felt hot and cold all at once, and I shivered when his hot breath caressed my cheek. I waited, holding my breath in case he pushed me away, but Skylar didn't move. He was frozen. I angled my head and pressed my mouth to his. I was shy and hesitant as I slowly began testing the waters. His lips were warm and soft, slightly chapped, but when he pressed back, a jolt of heat went through me. I pulled back, waiting to see if it was something he wanted. Skylar was shaking, visibly trying to hold himself back. "I'll hurt you." I offered a sad smile. "No more than I deserve." "I'll kill you." "Then, it'll be a sweet death," I replied easily. If I could make things right, that was all that mattered to me in the end. Skylar's hand gripped the back of my loose ponytail, fisting it hard and yanking my head back. I gasped. Skylar made a noise at the back of his throat and dove in again. I could taste our shared breath and feel the thud of our combined heartbeat. Skylar grunted, shoving his tongue in deeper, almost as if he wanted to carve me open. My breath hitched, and I gripped onto his wide shoulder blades, trying to steady myself. The world spun around me like a merry-go-round going too fast, making it hard to keep my balance. Skylar was kissing me harder, deeper, almost as if something had been unleashed inside him. I struggled to keep up, moaning into his mouth, fisting his jersey like my life depended on it. Our tongues weaved and danced as Skylar took me apart. The kiss felt like the world was ending, as if the sky was collapsing in on itself, like a star going supernova, burning the heavens to ashes. Heat flared within me, a sudden spark that grew into a wave of liquid fire, flooding my body with a rush of intoxicating pleasure. My shaft was filling with need, and Skylar tore off my ponytail, allowing the loose waves to frame my face. Once we started, we couldn't stop. Something fractured inside my chest, splintering into a million pieces. I squeezed my eyes shut, and it was like looking through a spinning kaleidoscope, with everything mixing together in a confusing blur that made it hard to stay steady. "Okay, you should be good to go now." I yanked away from him like I'd been burned. The nurse rounded the corner and then stopped, staring at us. I ducked my head, hoping that my hair would cover the blush on my face. It felt raw from his beard scraping across my chin, and I didn't dare look at her. "All right," she said. You should be good to go now, Skylar." But Skylar didn't respond. When I glanced at him, I saw that his jaw was tight, working hard before he forced a mirthless smile. "Thanks," he said finally. I sat back on my haunches, then scrambled to my feet. "I'll, shower and get changed." I rushed out of there before he could respond, my face still flaming. The locker room was empty, so I hurried to change and shower, scrubbing my body and ignoring that certain part of me that was standing up, hard and swollen against my stomach. My nerves twisted up in my stomach like tree roots. I couldn't make sense of what was up or down. I never considered myself gay or bi or whatever. I think I just liked the person, but it was too late to figure that stuff out now, and I was exhausted. Hitching my bag over my shoulder, I went to wait outside the changing rooms for Skylar. The night-cool breeze felt amazing on my heated skin, and I felt my flush deepen when Skylar finally emerged. He was dressed in a white graphic t-shirt, his nose ring glinting in the light. He stopped, surprise covering his features, like he didn't expect me to still be waiting for him. I bit my lower lip, gripping the strap on my bag until my knuckles were white. He didn't speak, and neither did I. We walked in silence to the parking lot, and I desperately wanted to ask what we did next, but refrained. A sleek BMW pulled up to the curb, and I wondered whose car that was until I saw Mo, Edge, and Ty get out. "I guess I'll see you around," I stammered, my mouth still tingling from our kiss. Skylar stared straight ahead, his jaw working. What happened in there meant nothing. Pain flared in my chest, but I forced myself not to react. It had been my first real kiss, and Skylar was treating me like I was hot trash afterward. Okay? Just so we're clear, Davis. Skylar lit a cigarette but made no move to walk toward his friends. Don't worry. I won't tell anyone if that's what you're worried about. I knew his friends didn't like me, which was fine. They had every right to hate me for how badly things were handled back then. I promised myself I'd make it up to Skylar. It didn't matter what they thought about me. I know he said Travis wasn't his boyfriend, but that didn't mean there weren't other feelings to consider. Besides, you don't do relationships, right? I added it for good measure. Nope, and I find it incredible, and you've really outdone yourself with that profound observation. He flicked the cigarette butt and walked away. I stood there for half a minute watching the BMW pull out of the parking lot. Skylar wouldn't go after Mason, at least during the game. It should have been good news, but why did I feel more confused than ever before?